Hey everyone, this is Phil
and Lula
of the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
You're listening to Into the Night,
The Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 273, and you are with your high priests of KHONSHU, Rebecca and Ray.
Hi.
Hey, Rebecca. Hey, how you going?
Yeah, I haven't spoken to you for a while.
No, it's been
Weeks,
ages,
months,
weeks. Yeah. No, but Loony listeners, we're here again to now get to talk about episode 1 of Disney Plus's Moon Knight TV show. This is a Moon and Stars segment, so this will be basically Rebecca and I, our reaction to the episode. We get to discuss stuff. We get to unshackle Rebecca. Finally,
A little bit, yeah.
a little, true. After having released our spoiler-free review for episodes 1 to 4, as always, a big thank you to our patroonies. So a big shout out to the likes of Drew Toombs and Daniel Doing, both patroonies, and Drew being a fantastic musician. Toombs and Lurk Music are his monikers, and Daniel Doing with Fringe Night, his comic book creation. Also CLZ Comics by Collectors and Dreamland Comics from Schoenberg, Illinois. So yeah, Rebecca, we are here. It's going to be a shortish episode, so the idea is actually we'll release another one shortly after the weekend with Loony feedback. I thought just give the Loonies a bit of time to drop in their thoughts on our social media post, or send in a voicemail if you can, and there'll be a panel with us and a few other Loonies, and we'll get to go through all our reactions and as well as yours, Loony listeners. But yes, Rebecca, here we are.
I know, it's crazy. Like, it feels like it's been like 4 years in the making or something.
It has. Well, I got reminded online, someone was saying, I was just reading some comments here and there, like it was August 2019 we got the announcement that the TV show was
a special guest star.
Special guest.
Don't see Larky very often.
No. Is that a good omen, I wonder?
Let's see. I hope
so.
But 2009 fish, yeah.
Oh yeah, the fish. We'll get to that. But 2019, it does seem like yonks ago. That was when it was announced.
I mean, it takes a while, and obviously the pandemic slowed everything down in terms of, I mean, it bumped all the Marvel films and that, like, almost a year. So that almost certainly had a knock-on effect. But it also gave them a bit more time for it, I guess. So
exactly. But we're here now, and we are looking at episode 1, released, of course, March 30th this year, 2022. The Goldfish Problem. Now, this was, Rebecca, I did actually take a photo of stuff. I don't know, did you manage to get the credits and all that?
I only took the credits of the advisors.
Okay,
no
worries.
Do them. I did check that I can take screenshots with my setup, and I can. So
I've got a screenshot already of the cast, but I know directed by Mohammed Diab for this particular episode. Written by, was it Jeremy Slater, Rebecca? I did.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeremy Slater penned this one as well. And then we have the cast. Look, there is a handful of them. I'm just going to say Oscar Isaac, of course, as Moon Knight, Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow. The voice of F. Murray Abraham makes an appearance as the voice of KHONSHU, for those that may not know who that voice or what that voice was. You actually saw him in the hallway. Kareem El Hakim as the KHONSHU performer, and I mean there are a few more here. Donna from the gift shop, Lucy Thackeray. So
and we heard May's voice as Layla.
Oh, we did. Yes, we did. Yeah, May Kalamaua. Yeah, we did hear her voice. You're right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually, before we get started, Rebecca, then what we're going to do? Obviously, they're the kind of the details, the spotty details that we've sprinkled for you. Now, what I thought we'd do, Rebecca, would do this in 2 ways, 2 segments. One's called the curve, the smooth bit, Like,
Yeah.
what happened during the show. Let's talk about that. That's fun. And then I've got the pointy end, which is I wanted to address and acknowledge that, okay, we have this thing, and we have this thing that you probably heard from our spoiler-free review that we both love, and so did Noel as well, but acknowledge as well that there may be some sticking points or some pointy ends.
Yeah, that's very much Ray's idea, but I think it actually works. It's like, let's address some of the things people might have issues with.
Yeah, at least highlight them, at least like say, okay, this is what may be a potential thing. So Rebecca, where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start with the Goldfish Problem. I want to start with I think what a title. I mean, like, even if this had leaked, we would have no idea what it means, except it often refers to like the whole picture when they put that poster up yesterday of like while I was asleep, how dare they, of the goldfish in a blender. It represents a stressful situation. That's what it's supposed to represent. And also, obviously, the goldfish problem is lack of memory generally. Because everyone jokes about goldfish. So there are some nice little
love it.
Having thought about it, there are some nice touches to him having a pet goldfish.
Yeah.
I've already joked with Ray about his son's name being within Gus, the one-finned wonder.
One-finned wonder.
Who is now Gus, the two-finned wonder.
And like, what did he say? He said, "If you're Gus, I'm the Queen of Sheba."
I'm the Queen of Sheba, which is another nice ancient thing. But it is it is something that my grandparents used to say. Like, if so, I'm the Queen of Sheba.
It does.
So it is a genuine phrase. Whether British or not, I don't know. I just know that it didn't seem weird to me because I've heard people say it. But I did look, whatever else I can say about Mark, at least he went to buy a replacement goldfish.
Yes.
I mean, he's a good guy, really. He either doesn't want to be caught out or in which case he's a terrible observation.
Yes.
I mean, be glad he didn't try and chop a fin off.
Absolutely. And I guess the goldfish was the first inkling that we got of when Stephen recognizes the goldfish has got two fins, that something isn't right. I mean, of course, that's unraveled later on, that he's 2 days late for his date, that sort of thing. But it's a nice little way to, I don't know.
I thought it was a very classy way of showing it, and also showing how Mark would have had to cover up. As someone whose dad bought them many replacement hamsters growing up, and my sister had like a whole row of cuddly bunnies called Bunny Number 1, Bunny Number 2, because of awful tragedies that befell them. I don't know, really bad. But I like to think Gus 2 is firmly in my heart.
Yeah, and it is a serious little moment for Stephen, because it spins him out, and so he goes to the the fish shop, and he tries to explain that this fish has. I don't know why he didn't check the date earlier, with the date on his phone.
Maybe he had a pretty bad dream.
Yeah, true, exactly.
He had a pretty bad dream. His goldfish grew back a fin.
Yeah.
I don't think dates were the first thing on his mind.
True. And listeners, sorry, I've listened some, or Rebecca and I, you and I know of some reviews like that podcast do of episodes. So you can't.
There was the other thing I did want to talk about though, was the opening scene, because when we first saw it, I was like properly icked out by it. And just it was such a nice cold open, like to start with the antagonist. I think I'm gonna keep calling him an antagonist. I mean, just because but it's really interesting because, of course, like the breaking the glass in a handkerchief is what we do at Jewish weddings.
Oh wow!
So it's just like when we first saw it, I was like, before he got his shoes out, I was like, oh right, we're doing a little Jewish nod. Yeah, it's supposed to be, you do it for, I guess it's one of the most famous things about Jewish weddings is that you do it and the man smashes the glass and everyone says Mazel Tov. It's a reminder that even in the most joyous of occasions, you should remember the sorrow.
Okay, right.
Obviously, that's not why Harrow is putting glass in his shoes, but I mean, what an introduction to your antagonist, though, is like he will re-put broken glass in his shoes.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a cold opening, and you don't really. I mean, nothing is really mentioned of it later, but you're just kind of left wondering. I was left wondering, in the subsequent scenes of Harrow, he's got bits of glass in his shoe. He must be pretty uncomfortable.
No wonder he's not running after Mark.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's got the walking stick, all that sort of stuff.
But
so,
what the friend I was watching it with was saying, oh, it's clearly a religious zealot. So obviously it did read that way to people straight away.
Well, I watched it with Eve, and Eve is not your typical, well, she's not a comic book reader, but Eve, and look, I'm going to say it now. I'm going to try and quote her at the end. She said, "It was good, ... It was good, ... I mean, ... I wasn't wishing for it to end." So that's a pretty good.
I mean, like, given that it is not an unsettling episode, but it does kind of sharp ending, because like just when you're getting into it,
what an ending though. What an ending.
So I mean, I think it has a great opening and a great ending. But if they had uploaded the whole episode, I don't know anyone who wouldn't have carried on to episode 2. Then so I understand that from people who don't know anything about the character. Well, I understand that anyway. It just shows she wanted to know a bit more to make her mind up, and they didn't quite give you it all. Yeah,
which is a good point. And just circling back to the opening as well. I saw it, and she doesn't like violence or graphic violence, and she was going, oh, and she actually thought it was Mark.
Feeling it the whole time.
Yeah, and she goes, oh, is he trying to show he's a tough guy or something? And I'm going, no, I think we'll just have to wait and see who it is. Okay. But very much a zealot, kind of, in that kind of mold. So a very big. Oh, just a weird opening theme. The music as well, I found was fantastic. I love that.
I really loved it.
It started out with a 60s song. It had on the subtitles, something about a moonlight, which was obviously very apt.
I think our friends at TV Podcast Industries have done a very good breakdown on Twitter of all the music. So,
fantastic!
I recommend everyone go read their thread. I'm not going to go and crib off it, but they break down what all the songs are,
fantastic.
Which ones mention sleep and the moon and mental health and things like that. So,
great, fantastic! And I wanted to shout them out. We'll shout them out again towards the end of the show, but go have a listen at TV Podcast Industries. They've released their episode 1 review now. Fantastic review. It really does break down the episode.
Yeah, I wanted to wait till after ours to listen to them.
Me too. Yeah, I've got it lined up, but I just can't wait to listen to it. So highly recommend it.
They're always great to listen to. So.
Always great. Yeah, links in the show notes. So, the opening scene was quite amazing. I wanted to, I guess, bounce to when we're talking about the fish and him going to the fish shop, and there is always like an underlying a comedic kind of like element to what I found, like, because even she was having a bit of a nice little jab about, if you want your Nemos, go try to find a store that sells disabled fish, all that. So I like these like quirky little things, which I found Stephen very much had in it. But yeah, I found the comedy quite nice. It was. I
didn't find any of it. None of it jarred me.
No.
Maybe some of the ones. Maybe the fish shop woman. I was a little bit like. But then you have to put her into context. Like, she has no idea what this guy's going on about.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And he's weird, and he's carrying his fish in a blender or whatever.
That's right.
Or whatever pot it is. It's like, and he's not being aggressive, but like. He's not being gentle either about it. Like, he's obviously like het up and sometimes use humor to try and alleviate those kind of situations.
Yeah. And Stephen does use a lot of humor as well. It is pretty much intrinsic to his character, this Stephen character.
Which is funny because, I mean, it is quite a self-deprecating, more British sensibility in terms of the humor. So I like that it's not just the accent; it's also using Britishisms and British phrases and British humour and just the way we talk to each other.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a very interesting identity, a part of Mark Spector or Stephen. And we did have this whole discussion first of the accent being bad and how it's actually kind of good. It just makes me think the way that you're saying it now, Rebecca, about this British humor, it must be something that, say, Mark has taken on board when he's created, or this alter had come about.
I don't know how that works.
Influences.
I'm guessing we'll get some advice on how that works. But I mean, both the US and the UK, we get to watch a lot of each other's TV.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
you know, like, I mean, I was pretty good on American slang when I was like 15, 16. So I wouldn't be surprised if he'd watched a lot of Doctor Who or, you know, Monty Python, whatever else. I'm trying to like age it. I don't remember what year it's at. But like, you know, there'll always be a sort of like steady stream of like US, UK cross-cultural. And then he's obviously been in the UK a while because
was Globetrotter.
Well, Layla says something like not Layla. He says about his mom, who we don't know who it is, must live quite nearby because he said he was thinking of popping round.
Right.
So
okay.
And then, I think like, and there's obviously a sense that he's been living there for a while, and he has a job. I mean, he's not just turned up yesterday, so he would have been around Brits for presumably all that time.
I wonder, Rebecca, this is just pure speculation. I wonder then if Mark has set up Stephen with a mother in the UK.
Well, I'm wondering if that's like a psychiatrist or
okay,
Mark set up.
Right,
like one or the other. Like there's because like I mean, look, it could be his mum, but
it could be his mum, but then
it feels wrong.
It does.
But then I need to tell everyone that throughout the episode, I kept saying he was a mummy's boy and expecting everyone to laugh because of Egypt. And no one did because, like, you know, it's a proper dad joke. So as someone said to me this morning, I have to hand back my British humour card.
Oh, no, my gosh.
Funny.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
So we do get a lot of this was a huge introduction to Stephen Grant, basically, and
it's a Stephen Grant we have never seen before,
and we have never seen, which we'll get to in the pointy bit, pointy end. But yeah, so it's a huge setup of him. We do see the lay of his land, which is the museum. There's a cast of, you know, supporting cast members of, because that's what they are. Donna, who he is his manager, it seems, in the retail shop, want him to always do inventory. There is, oh my gosh, I don't know the name of her. I don't know if did they even name her on the date?
His date, yes, they named her in the captions, Dylan.
Dylan.
I watched it with captions this time, and when she's ringing him, when they're ringing up after the date, it's named.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll watch it with captions as well. But when they had that conversation at the date, like I didn't bother looking at a name because I was just so like captivated by this rejection. Basically, well, it is a rejection in the sense that he was 2 days. He's 2 days late. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when I say he stood her up, it's not like, you know, obviously there were reasons, but to her, he stood her up.
Again, we're bouncing around. Let's go. Why he stood her up or he was late? There's these blackouts, Rebecca. This is a big thing in
the time loss, the blackouts, the switches. Yeah.
What did you think of it? Actually, I didn't realize that during that van chase that there were a fair few of them.
There was a few cutbacks to Mark.
Like the first one was very jarring. Of when he woke up, in the middle of the Alps. Yeah, that's right. And I love that he said
calling him a worm. Love it.
And parasite. He calls him a parasite as well.
Like the idiots in charge. We just have to say that as often as we can.
Title of this episode. But I love it how he waves at the guy in the window. Hello.
Oh, it's so funny. Hello.
Hiya. And the guy with the gun comes out. What are you doing?
That's the comedy. That's like situational comedy. There's no reason for him to do that, but it is funny regardless.
It is hilarious.
But he also doesn't know where he is, so maybe there's a reason to just be friendly. He's a friendly guy.
Yeah, but I mean, that was really cool. That got the kind of the blood pumping because it was an action scene, and then we get led into meeting Arthur Harrow with all these, I'm going to call them zombified people because they just seem totally in his thrall.
His cult.
Yeah. What I did find interesting, it's not really elaborated on, but those scales on his forearm, which kind of his tattoo, which moves, or maybe is that what Mark or Stephen is only seeing himself? I don't know, but he seems to have this power.
It did seem to move, yeah.
Yeah, but he seems to have. Well, this is funny because Eve kept on asking me during the while we're watching. She goes, "So what is real?" I go, "Well, I'm not saying anything." She's going.
It's what a lot of the initial people who saw the screeners were like, and I think they've just seen the first two. Initially, they were like, "Yeah, it's really hard to know what's real." I don't know. I guess all of it is for now.
Because also as well, what I noticed in this second viewing of it was, just when he tries to stay awake and there's that automated voice saying, hello, I'm going to try to keep you awake.
Yeah.
Why don't you start reading or working on a puzzle?
Do a puzzle, do some more reading.
I think all that and the stuff that he's looking at, all that could be linked into maybe this is feeding his subconscious and psyche, and maybe that's what's generating. And so when he wakes up in the Alps, like even after that, and then he wakes up again back in London, Eve was going, okay, was that all real? And I was going,
but I'm guessing that's what how Stephen feels about it. He thinks it's a bad dream. That's why he laughs when he wakes back up in his bed, But then he also, and it's also why he's got the sand around his bed, and he's trying to see if he's. But I don't know how, to see if it's real or not. So I'm guessing he excuses it as being asleep.
So he thinks he's sleepwalking, right? Because he doesn't know he's got identities until, because I made a mistake. I was just assuming he tied himself to the bed because he thought he knew he had another identity. He doesn't.
No,
know
it
that.
seems he seems that Stephen isn't aware of the other altar.
No, not at all.
Because we don't know, but altar for now.
He says at the beginning, because he goes, he says something along the lines, I feel like I have to get in my 10,000 steps. I always wake up feeling really tired. He doesn't, I'm assuming he just thinks he's sleepwalking. I think he just thinks
it's dreams and that he's sleepwalking when he's not been tied to the bed.
Yeah, and he's potentially doing stuff, but it's still him, but just in a sleep-like state. But because he seems genuinely surprised, obviously, when he sees first KHONSHU, which is a big friggin' freak out, but when he sees Mark in the mirror, or when he starts hearing Mark's voice.
Because when he's looking around his apartment for Mark, there's no indication he knows what he's looking for.
No, and again, I'm going to reference Eve as well. She goes, "Oh, so this is the first time he's actually heard Mark's voice," and I go, "Yeah, I think you're right." So this is the kind of origin of Stephen, at least, but we know
this is Mark's consciousness being aware for the first time. I really like that when he first sees Mark and he says it's going to be okay, and Mark just shaking his head. It's not going to be okay.
I like that subtlety. We get the introduction of the mirrors as well. So just in the bathroom, that little circular mirror when Stephen finds that he has that phone call with Layla. That was a cool thing. And Layla's going, "What are you talking about? What's wrong with you, Mark?" And that's a big thing we've seen in the trailer. Yeah. And he's called that number lots of times. There's 50 plus Layla.
No, I think they're messages he's missed.
Oh, message. Oh,
I think they're phone calls he's missed. So Layla's called him thousands of times, and whoever Duchamp is. Well,
we get our first little Easter egg there. I mean, that has to be for
Is it the
Moonlight
first
fans.
One? I think maybe we get our standing statue first.
We do as well. Okay, double barrel references.
Yeah.
The first one was Frenchie Duchamp. Loonies, you'd know this, of course. And the other one, Rebecca.
We don't know, but look, if he doesn't, he looks spitting image of Crawley.
I did check the credits, Rebecca.
And
Crawley played by Sean Scott. So I mean, if you didn't catch it, which is a very subtle thing, Loonies, check out the credits. Crawley is in there, so we do get a look of Crawley.
I mean, I have to say, having a standing statue guy being the person who's your ears on the street is pretty good.
Oh, it is. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. It's when we first heard about this announcement, I did have visions and wants of, I would love to see Crawley walk in the bar with a tea bag. That's his. We might still get that.
I forgot that was one of your. We still may see him with some.
We still may see it, but I love the idea that he's a busker and that he's a statue that he sees all and hears all, but no one really notices him. So we get two of those references as well. Look, going back to this dream or whatever in the Alps with Stephen and Harrow, there is a lot of comedy ensuing. There's a very much like a Jim Carrey, almost Peter Sellers kind of, where he doesn't want to give the scarab to Harrow. Like he wants to, but he
Oh,
can't.
he wants to, but like he's not in
Yeah.
charge, fully in charge. It's so fun. It's such
Yeah.
good physical comedy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So no, it's all right. So
you can see what's going on in the background.
I can. Aussie's going to town. But yeah, the scarab is the thing. What do you call it?
Yeah.
It's the thing that everyone is.
We don't
that's
know
what
why,
he's after.
but everyone wants the scarab.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Harrow wants the scarab.
Harrow wants the scarab.
Presumably,
for some reason.
Mark and KHONSHU do not want him to have the scarab, so they count as the other everyone. Or at least KHONSHU, and Mark's like more amenable to doing what KHONSHU tells him than Stephen.
Yes. And we do get that bouncing towards the end with Harrow meeting up with Stephen. And another good point I thought was really cool was he does. I was actually, when I first watched it, I was going, "Oh no, don't grab his wrists! Don't read him, Harrow, because he killed that woman."
Starts to read him,
yeah. And so, but he read Stephen, and then he just goes, "There's chaos in you," and I thought that's so cool. That's so Moon Knight, because we know in the comics as well
that he's some sort of connection with Ammit.
Yep. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
and because Stephen explains that she's the world's first bogeyman, and and he's like, no, only if you're an evildoer.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, and she's doing the deity was doing stuff like, what did he say? It's like about weeding the garden before the
I mean, like
roses
judging
grow.
souls, right? Yeah, just
judging
like
something
weeding
before
out people on their future evil.
Yes,
potential, future potential for evil or good.
So hence, it can be seen as quite evil. Killing.
We're not really into that kind of prejudicial.
No, 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 not at all. But yeah, so we do see Harrow towards the end, and there's a big finale. Sorry, Rebecca, just again jumping around here. I did see a note of yours. I really wanted to raise it. The Great Ennead.
So we find out that Stephen's a bit of a starter Egyptologist, that he's fascinated by the Egyptian gods. He's pointing out mistakes in the depiction of the Great Ennead, which is the 9 supergroup of Egyptian gods, if I understand rightly. He lists them, and he's sort of saying, no, the poster's wrong, it's got 7, it needs 9. And he starts, he's sort of telling this little girl at the museum how they used to do the mummification. And so he's obviously like not an expert, but that's also the books he's reading at Egyptology ones. So it's just something that he is, but it means we launch straight into that aspect of it as well, like not just through his museum work, but obviously he's interested in it. Obviously Harrow's interested in it as well. So we know we're going to stay with Egyptian mythology here. Yeah.
I mean, he even, when he tries to stay awake, he researches the Great Ennead as well. So he's very much into that kind of lore. He's almost, you could say,
Gus has a pyramid and an obelisk in his fish tank.
He does as well.
So he's obviously,
I loved it.
I love it.
I love it when Stephen tried to feed him sugar sprinkles.
I know, don't do that to your goldfish. I don't think you're allowed to. I also got very upset that when Mark dropped the chocolates, he was like, looked like he wasn't still going to eat them. Come on, Mark. I mean,
I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to eat them as well. I remarked.
You should eat them anyway. 5-second rule.
Yeah, I remarked to Eve as well. Yeah, exactly. And I remarked to Eve as well. I said, that is exactly me, because when he dropped them, he had a huge sigh and then he bent down. I said, that's me. It's like, oh God, why did I have to do this extra work?
Poor Stephen with his roses and his chocolates.
That scene was I think it was so cool. He did it really well when
it was very affecting. Like,
it was.
Even though they've got that kind of comedy of being a vegan at a steak restaurant and like making the altars that different to have the vegan meat eating, Mark's obviously invited her out to a steak restaurant. Stephen, but still willing to go because it's a date, right?
Yeah.
But so there's some inherent comedy there, but it's not played at all for laughs.
It's when he asks.
You see it in some comedies where the waiters are like, "Are you going to order yet?"
Yeah.
And this was more like he looked genuinely gutted.
He was hugely gutted,
and that he'd lost 2 days. And it's just like, I feel that was a more accurate depiction of how you'd feel if like your whole world had just kind of closed in on you like that, and you just had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, he had that kind of look of he's trying to put on a brave face for the waiter to say that everything's okay, but at the same time, he doesn't really care anymore. He's kind of like, do you want?
Yeah,
How would
I'll
you
go
like?
on,
How would
I'll
you like
try a
this?
steak. Yeah.
Yeah, and how would you like that? Oh, good, very good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like it? I'll do that. Well done for you, sir. Yeah, yeah. Whatever. That's he's just really, I think, really well done, and yeah, he's genuinely very disappointed and confused
Yeah.
and everything, as you say. So, a great scene that one was as well. And Rebecca, do you want to jump into anything in particular?
Should we talk about the chase scene
Yeah.
after he escapes Harrow? Or as he's escaping Harrow. So, like, again, there's some inherent comedy. It's a cupcake van he steals. So, which means we get him fighting with cake and then saying sorry for fighting with cake. But I mean, some of those cuts must have been terrible. Like, he just says he can't drive, which is absolutely what a Londoner would say. Because most Londoners don't learn to drive.
Yeah, right.
You don't need to. Or a lot of Londoners don't. Like, you'll find a higher proportion of Londoners, I'd bet, than many other areas don't drive. Yeah. And then to be driving this van and having people coming at you with guns and having to this crazy road, like and then the one point where he like snaps back to Stephen and he's driving backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like, I mean, Mark is obviously a killer stunt driver.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was terrifying but great, and I'm so happy that none of the chickens got hurt.
Oh yeah, me too.
I mean, like, because I can't cope with that kind of stress.
Yeah, yeah. It annoyed me in kind of a funny way because I had to remark to Eve as well where he passes by that chicken truck and that old lady gives him the finger. It's like, because one of my pet peeves are just people being rude on the road. And anyway, we had a similar experience when we were like wheel drive. Eve was driving, and this older gentleman in his Audi, totally in the wrong, of course, and he passes us and he gives us the finger. And we're like, what the hell is this old dude? Yeah, that is so rude. But yeah.
That's
anyway,
amazing.
Eve also did mention she noticed that like when Stephen was driving, he was driving on the left-hand side of the road. She goes, "Oh, but that's accurate for Stephen."
I didn't notice that. Bless
and I
her.
said, yeah, and I said, "Oh, you're right."
Because that's what he'd naturally do. Yeah,
yeah. So, that fight scene was funny. Even the things with when he gets stopped at the end, and the windscreen wipers are still working with the smashed windscreen. And then... it's just really, really little funny bits like that. I don't know. I think they work because it's Stephen, of course. I mean, he's that sort of character. But yeah, it's good to have that. It's so different from the Marvel. Other Marvel.
I think on the differences as well. I think we were talking about it when we first watched the screeners. Is that like it's a very different Stephen, but if you think Stephen's always been the one that that will be the one that is the one you kind of like think's probably the nicest guy. Well, actually, it's not true. I think Jake's probably a really nice guy. But more recently, Jake's become a bit more violent. But like Stephen's that kind of the polished one with all the women and stuff like that. The one that Marlene kind of prefers.
Yes.
And you can see this is like the flip side of it. This isn't the charming. This is more the one who needs looking after. But if any of my female friends are anything to judge by, they're all literally already ride or die Stephen Grant, but no one better hurt him. He must be protected at all costs. Yeah. So I mean, and I have to say, I think Oscar did a fantastic job of like playing through all of it, the physical comedy,
he did,
the changes, the physical, the being scared and being sad and being just very on Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Just it seemed like a new level to his, and he carries the episode. I mean, like 90% of it's him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, with just a bit as Harrow. So
yeah, and also the glimpses of Mark as well. It has to be a very different personality.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get to see a lot of him, but I particularly like Mark at the end when he was like, let me save us. I think he says.
Yeah.
It's something like that. Yeah, let me save us. And it just seemed that like rather than ordering Stephen around, that's the way to get to him.
Yeah.
It's like, let me just do this. And it seemed like the beginning of what I expect will be a long conversation at some point with some therapy That helps. That helps. So I just saw one of my stupid notes about avatars when he says talks about blue people and anime. Just
I wanted to, did that scene where you're talking about Mark and Stephen, I did glimpse, I think, I'm not sure if it's meant to be a reference, but there was this whole thing where Stephen kept on saying, I'm real, you're not real, I'm real. And I was just waiting for someone to say, I'm not real, because of that. So I don't know whether that was maybe alluding to that quote.
I'm guessing that came from the experience of many DID sufferers. DID sufferers?
Yeah, true.
DID systems who I mean, we'll raise this now. If you wait till almost the end of the credits, you'll find they have cultural consultants, Judaism consultant, Egyptology consultant, and a mental health consultant. And then they link to NAMI for anyone who needs help with mental health or information about mental health. And I suspect, and we know, we luckily have people who can chime in here, but from what we've talked about in the Understanding DoD chats, it seems to me that's where that came from.
Yeah, okay. That makes
because
sense.
As a child, because you don't know what's real. I mean, I'm guessing at that moment, he's had so much what's real, what's not real, and then you suddenly get confronted with someone with your own face.
Yes. Oh, that would
making
be
a very
immensely
reasonable argument, you're going to get killed unless you let me. And you don't understand the give me the body thing. You've already been harassed by some weird bird daddy thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Which we haven't mentioned KHONSHU, brilliantly, I think, just shown on screen.
I don't know if I was expecting to have this antagonistic KHONSHU, and I love it.
It's great.
I mean, I really do. I thought we'd get a kinder KHONSHU to start with. Okay. I love he started off irritated because that's how I'm most used to seeing him.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be interesting to see if he's different with Mark.
Yeah, I mean, if Mark doesn't take any of that crap from him, probably has a bit of a firmer hand. Mark, I mean, not KHONSHU. I mean, let's jump to, I guess,
the point. KHONSHU also looked fantastic.
He did.
I'm
great.
Amazed at how good CGI and however they did it.
Yeah, 8 foot.
I mean, obviously they had to perform, but
whatever,
just really good.
Looks very good, and the voice, F. Murray Abraham. I think it probably sounds how I would think KHONSHU would sound, how I was imagining. It's got that just deep, resonant, commanding voice.
He's got a perfectly deep voice, and it's.
So if we jump, I guess we were alluding to some of these things, the pointy end. So Rebecca, just to
the things that we think might be more controversial.
Yeah, just to round out our thoughts of this reaction of episode 1. I mean, we haven't even touched upon a lot of the things, but we can definitely cover them through here. The biggest thing would have to be Stephen. I think
it's huge. I mean, this is not the Stephen of the comics, and
it's. And I think
I don't know what to say about it. It just isn't.
Well, it is a difficult pill then, because as we said, 95% of this episode all hinges on Stephen. We see Mark here and there, we see Moon Knight towards the end, we see Mark towards the end, but most of it is Stephen. So I guess something that would kind of rub you the wrong way if you do expect Stephen to be, the billionaire. From the comics, this is not it. So you're basically getting something that's a huge departure from.
Plus, you're seeing this character, the character sort of being put in that kind of dweeby sort of position, which you don't often see him in. I mean, it's one of the things we don't like when he gets a bit quippy and people quip with him. Is that him being put in that position of people mocking him?
Yeah,
you get the feeling that people are a little bit mocking Stephen. And I not seeing it from Mark's point of view means we miss the worst of the violence that happens in the episode, because we cut back to Stephen after each time.
Well, that's another thing as well, Rebecca. We've got in the pointy end here the lost time as a potentially a lost opportunity. Ooh, I like that, Rebecca, for. Missing out on seeing this action or violence. We don't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clever given they're constrained by what do you call it? By how much they can show. I admit, but but I think I definitely could see how it could rub people up the wrong way. And I hope it doesn't happen all the time. I want to see some fights from Mark's end as well.
Yeah, I mean the way I see. Sorry.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean the way I see it as well is that this episode is very much establishing Stephen Grant. And look, I have the benefit, and you as well, Rebecca, we have seen the other episodes, but I'm just saying that this episode was very much Stephen, and it seems to me that they really are taking time to flesh out not only the character that Oscar Isaac is playing, but the characters that he's playing. So we get Stephen. So we get deprived of Mark's involvement in it. I mean, we don't even see him other than in the mirror at the end. So, it's very much from Stephen's perspective, and I think that justifies for me this lost time. And like yourself, I'm hoping down the track that we do see more stuff of Mark or more stuff of Moon Knight. Speaking of which,
of course, Moon Knight as well. Forgot about him.
Speaking of Moon Knight as well, Rebecca. Again, this is no real secret, but the last scene, the fantastic scene where he's beating up on the Jackal, the reveal of the suit again. So again, it's been promoted now a lot. We know what the suit looks like.
It's grown on me a lot, so I thought it looked all right.
Yeah, it looked all right. Yep. So it's very much on the Egyptian bent version. I guess if we are to look at the comics, you could parallel it with is it Earth X, and potentially.
Yes.
I'd like to see potentially, not that it actually does appear in the Fist of Khonshu, but since Fist of Khonshu is so Egypt centric. I think we were both asking the other day why Alex Ross was in the thanks, and it's definitely the Earth X sort of so because the whole creative team for that, I didn't screenshot the thanks to, but they're pretty much as expected, I guess, minus Warren Ellis. Yes, exactly. But yeah, the big one was Stephen, and just on that other fact as well, Rebecca, about him being such a, as you say, a dweeb. And I think the dweeb and the comedy may, again, as you say, I mean, we talked about it, may affect some people's viewing of it, not really wanting to see Moon Knight as a comedic. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, flip side, people who do want to read Moon Knight from the show are also going to be in for a bit of a surprise the other direction.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
True. Of course. I think those pretty much cover the pointy ends. I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly.
I don't think people would be too upset about the change in location to London. Nah. That doesn't seem to matter as much. Or Mark being from Chicago, they seem to be more sort of stylistic changes.
Well, I like to think that. For anyone that has read the Mensch run or the Mark Spector run, he is a globetrotter before he settles in. So this is nothing new.
But no, I'm expecting people to criticize a few of those things.
Yeah, fair enough. It'll be interesting. I can't wait for our follow-up.
And I'm not saying anyone shouldn't, right? I'm just like giving you like this
Absolutely.
Is how it got us, not.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to preempt it. It'd be exciting because I want to read. I wanted to see what all the other Loonies had to say as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because we've only really talked about it among ourselves. So I'm very excited to see how other people took it.
Yeah. I don't know. Any other final thoughts, Rebecca, on this?
Don't think so. I think we've covered it pretty well.
Music was pretty good. Yeah, I like the music. Great. And again, check it out.
Wham.
CB podcast. Yeah, exactly. I like the Wham as well. Okay. Well, shall we rate? Let's do a rating anyway. So episode 1, Rebecca, the Goldfish Problem, using of course KHONSHU's rating system.
I think I'm gonna just go 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5, a full moon heading towards a big fuck off moon. And I'm going to give it a big 9.5 as well. I really did think it set the scene for us. I can understand if maybe that sort of television comedy, it's not full on comedy, but that sort of
not
humor
comedy.
in there.
It's definitely a kind of. It has horror moments down the hallway. And
fantastic horror moments,
intrigue moments, and it's very much like spy thriller. So it's. I mean, we're mentioning the comedy just because it's it's quite different. I think it's slightly different from the other MCU comedy, but yeah, it's kind of a mix of genres, and I like that. And we don't know where it's going to go from here. I mean, we have some idea, but like, from watching this, there's no, you don't know which one's going to become a dominant genre, if one's going to become a dominant genre, etc.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and 9.5, I give it, taking a shred off the top, only because Rebecca, and this is a very small quibble, only because I felt some of the CGI stuff looked a little bit not is it green screeny? What do you call it? You can see the outlines.
Particularly in the chase. I think less so once you get to the museum. But
yeah, no, exactly. The Jackal was less so towards the end, but definitely in the Alps, I noticed there was a little bit. I could see the outlines of people, the screen behind them, that sort of stuff. Anyway, a little quibble. So 9.5 there. So Loonies, get your feedback in. We're going to have a big discussion, a bit more of a deeper dive. This was Rebecca and my our initial reaction, spoiler filled.
Get your feedback in because we want to hear it.
We want to definitely hear it as well. And you can, I might as well shout out it now. Email us at feedback@itkmoonnight.com, or you can check out all our other spots on itkmoonnight.com. I think you can leave a comment there on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Get Vocal, Discord as well, all in the show notes. Go check it out. A big spectacle again to TV podcast industries. Go check out. I'm going to have a listen, Rebecca, after we're done here, to their review on episode 1. I dropped in some thoughts for them as well, which will probably be shown in their subsequent episode. But yeah, really good podcast. Derek, John, and Chris do an amazing job. Go check it out and check out their breakdown of the music too. Well, Rebecca.
Yep.
That about wraps.
Speak to you again at the weekend.
Yeah, we'll see you at the weekend. Episode 274, there'll be a panel of Loonies with your Looney feedback as well. And sorry, I should thank you, all the patroonies as well. Daniel, Drew, Frank, Justin, Derek, Kyle, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Anthony, Russell, Michael, Mario, Gavin, and Matthew. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sponsors. And thank you to the collective as well, who we are a part of. So anyway, Rebecca, with that, may KHONSHU watch over the denizens of the night.
Later, Gators.
Later, Gators. See ya.
Later, Gators. See ya. Bye.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.
Are you looking to start a podcast? Yes! Then see this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn when you sign up for a new account. Get your show on Apple and Spotify. Get helpful audience building stats and all the support you need to sound your best. They can even do video. Bring your podcast to life and have your voice heard here, there, and everywhere with Libsyn. Again, see our show notes for our unique Libsyn promo code and get podcasting.